All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving our praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak Wadash. I'd like to give the honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who we learned this truth from. And I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. And today, Slakia, I'm just going to, simply entitle this Heavy Persecution, because that's the time that we're entering into. I may or may not change the title, but this is, what we are about to face, and there's been a lot going on just, in the past couple of days alone, so pretty much I'm going to be covering, a couple of different topics. And as you can see, I thought this lesson out carefully, because of the particular incident that took place 2 days ago, and these are just things that I'm going to bring out. A lot of these words I'm not going to say, just because of, the tension, the racial tension that is going on here in America. And, just for the sake of my video not being flagged, and because, they're watching, these, it's like you, but these people are watching, So I'm just going to go into these topics and bring out a few scriptures. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying and straight to the point. And I just, want the viewers to know that there is a method to my madness why I have all of this particular way. So just bear with me if it's a little lengthy. I just want to say Salakia in advance. But again, I will be bringing out, some information. So as of 2 days ago, Salakia, this particular incident happened, which sparked, the outrage of the people, which there has been speculation that could very well have been one of Slakia. So I'm trying to, do this the right way. But that could have very well been one of these, because as we know, this particular incident was definitely one of these, because of the way it looked, how it played out. It was just, that whole thing was just, it didn't look right, from seeing, the other videos that, other brothers have done, and even, certain people, of the world that have gone into, how it didn't look right, So this incident was definitely, this, but as it stands now, that has caused, the people, and when I say the people, this particular people, to be angry, and not just angry at anybody, but angry at this particular people, because these people have this for all of these people, but especially these people right here, and again, and they're ready to come up against this people, and they're pretty much showing this is, they're showing it more and more, and the tension is high, especially between those two groups of people, because these people here, they liked this guy a lot. Which this guy, a lot of people agree with him, a lot of people don't. Again, I'm not gonna justify, the things that he was saying, obviously, but this that happened to him has sparked the outrage of the people, and rightfully so. And then what better time for the people to be angry just yesterday, just yesterday was the 24th anniversary of this, this particular event, which we know was this orchestrated by these people and blamed on these people. These people were blamed for this, right? But we know that incident was this, and then because of this country and this entity then passed this, this particular act, which would give them the authority to classify these people as being this, if suspected, So what better timing, Because again, ultimately, both of these situations that happen are ultimately this, because the rulers of this current world create this to get this from the people and offer this. Okay? Let's bring out a little information. Go to ChatGPT, to which, again, earlier, Slakia did bring out, a couple words, man. So again, ultimately, both of those incidents that took happen, it's lucky that both of these incidents and this one as well, because right before this happened, he was talking about, or he was questioned about this by this. Okay. But ultimately, again, these two situations, and I'll even throw this one in there, are ultimately this. This is what these situations are, So let's see what the word, because again, certain words I'm not gonna say, but let's just say it says PSYOP, short for psychological operation, is a military or intelligence operation designed to influence the emotions, beliefs, attitudes, and behavior of individuals or groups, often in support of political, military, or strategic objectives. So again, did those incidents not influence this and this and this, all of these of this people? And then not just any of these people mainly, were pretty angry at this situation. Well, both of those, but Slakia, but this situation, they were angry at that. Now, because of that situation, these people are being classified as the face of this. They're being classified as that because of this particular woman and the individual that, carried out the act. And then, the Apostle Tahar also, did a video on it this morning where he pretty much, the individual that did this, pretty much said he had material in his body, pretty much alluding to, he may have been, micro C-hipped. So that's a possibility as well that, made him do it, speculation. Not saying it's facts. So let's go back to ChatGPT, right? Says purpose about this. Says undermine enemy morale, encourage surrender, shape public opinion, and control narratives. And this is literally what we've seen just in the past 2 days. This is what happened, you know? So it says method: propaganda, disinformation, rumors, staged events, social media campaigns, leaflets, broadcasts, or symbolic actions. And yeah, these mainly, but all of these, but especially these right here, you know, all had a part to play. And it says targets can be enemy forces, foreign populations, or even domestic audiences. Though in the U.S., laws limit domestic military psyops. And again, this is what, these were the targets. These particular people here in this country, you know. So it says modern context with social media and digital communication, psyops often involve viral content, memes, fake accounts, or manipulated news to sway perception. And again, is that not what happened with all of this? Especially with this, all of those, because I even seen that very same day that this took place, I seen one of these, already. Like, people don't really take anything serious, but I seen one of those. So yeah, that played a part as well, right? So then I also mentioned PRS, which is what? Problem Reaction Solution. So it says the phrase problem reaction solution is a framework often used in political science, media studies, and conspiracy theory discussions to describe how power can be manipulated. It suggests that leaders or institutions can manufacture or exploit a crisis to steer public opinion toward a desired outcome. And again, that's what happened, right? So always remember these 3 words, PRS, man, because that's pretty much what has and is taking place. So it says here's the breakdown. Problem: a crisis or a threat, real, exaggerated, or fabricated, is presented. It says example: a security threat, economic collapse, or public health emergency, which again, these things have happened, especially what? This, don't forget, 5 years ago, that thing happened, Says reaction: the public reacts emotionally, often with fear, anger, or demand for action. And again, this is how these people reacted to that situation, to both of those situations at the top. So these people reacted out of this. This was their reaction to that particular or those particular incidents, right? So it says example: citizens demand safety, stability, or solutions. And again, this is what they're now looking for. The solution, right? So it says solution: the same authority that highlighted or even engineered the problem offers a solution that expands control, changes laws, or advances an agenda. Example: new surveillance measures, wars, bailouts, or restrictions on freedom. So look, this has happened, right? So again, don't forget, I mentioned that yesterday was the 24th anniversary of this, right? And then that event brought about this. And then one of the things that it said, right, was this. which is what they're doing to these people, right? So let's go back to chat and let's look at it, man. So it says the Patriot Act, or the USA Patriot Act of 2001, short for Uniting and Strengthening America by Providing Appropriate Tools Required to Intercept and Obstruct fill in the blank Act, was signed into law by President fill in the blank during that particular time. Slacky, hold on. Was signed into law by President fill in the blank on October 26, 2001, just weeks after this event took place. So it says it was designed to expand the powers of U.S. law enforcement and intelligence agency to detect, prevent, and respond to fill in the blank. It says key provisions: surveillance powers, expanded wiretapping authority, including roving wiretaps that allow suspects across, that follow suspects across devices, allowed easier access to business, financial, library, and communication records through Section 215, library records provision. Since broadened use of national security letters, NSLs, which let the FBI obtain information without a court order. Information sharing broke down barriers between intelligence agencies like the CIA and FBI and law enforcement, which previously limited collaboration. Detention and deportation. And again, we still have this going on too. Says gave the Attorney General authority to detain and deport non-citizens suspected of fill in the blank related activities. Financial measures strengthen anti-money laundering rules to cut off funding for fill in the blank organizations. Border security, increase resources and authority for immigration enforcement and border patrol. And again, gives a little more information, but that's pretty much all I needed from this for this particular act. So because of this was passed, which gave, yet again, this country and this entity the authority to classify these people as being this, if suspected, And again, like number 47, he's not effing around, because he's calling for, something to be done, which, he may do something, but again, we just have to wait and see. But again, all of these ultimately are this, because things like this don't just randomly happen. But regardless, it's still this, and even possibly this, but pretty much is going to lead up to this, because this is the time that we're coming into. Very serious times, which this is going to coincide with this, because the people, they're angry right now, because of these, and even this by this, so it's a very, very serious time that we're in, man, because people, will classify us as being this, or let me Slovakia. Slovakia. Spell check, man. They'll classify us as being this, or say that those events that took place were just this, But, excuse me, Slovakia. Yeah, those events are just giving these people the fuel to come after these people, and especially these people, because again, these people have this for all of these people, and especially those people, So again, with all this going on, we just have to, just watch, watch and see, because again, I've myself, I've been saying this for months, I felt like something was going to take place, either in the summertime, in the fall, or in the winter. And we clearly see, man, you had, hey, these three incidents happen. Now they're saying that, this particular incident took place, late last month, but still, what a better way to push it than now with this, So, that, hey, it's getting real out here, man, and our people are still bullshitting, and I almost forgot I had a little more information that'll bring out, because again, this is what, this man was questioned, about before he was taken out. He was asked about this, right? So we know about that. But again, which I already brought that out, all of these things that are taking place is gonna lead up to this. So civil unrest. Says civil unrest refers to disruptions of public order involving demonstrations, protests, or other actions ranging from peaceful to violent that challenge the authority of government. So again, that is going to take place very soon, which is why, again, number 47 is going to send in, let me see, did I list it? Nope. But which is why number 47, not Agent 47, number 47 is going to send in these people. He's going to send these people in to control this, because people are angry, because of this. So yeah, man, we're in a very serious time, and we're coming into a time of extremely heavy persecution, and these particular people in general are being blamed and are being looked at as this, and a lot of people that are online just, saying any and everything, they're either losing their jobs or they're being watched by this entity, So very serious times we're in, man. Very serious. So I'm just gonna bring out a few scriptures, to be it. So I'm gonna start with the book of Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 15, and it says, "See that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time because the days are evil. And indeed, man, the days that we're in and that we're approaching are evil, which is why we need the Lord. You know, we're going to need the Lord to come and deliver us from the troublesome times that we're about to come into, you know, because we clearly see that things are wrapping up and the people, you know, they're getting very angry, right? So real quick, I'm going to jump to Matthew chapter 24 and verse 12, and it says, "And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold." And again, man, this is what we're seeing. The love of many is waxing cold, man. You know, they're saying that incident with, you know, again, the train incident. I'm just gonna say, you know, people were upset about that. You know, they're deeming that man as, you know, again, out there a monster, I would say, you know. But, you know, again, that particular people is blaming the other people, you know. So I'm gonna get the book of Second Timothy. It's like a Second Timothy chapter 3 and verse 1. And as the subtitle reads, difficult times will come, and indeed they're coming, man. They're on the way. It's vastly approaching. So Second Timothy chapter 3 and verse 1, this know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. And right, man, perilous times are coming, you know, because the nation of Edom is looking to come up against the Israelites, man. All 12 tribes, and especially those, you know, that know this truth, man. But those of our people out there that think they can come up against this man carnally are going to fail. You know, they can try, but they're going to fail miserably, you know, which is why, again, we're going to need divine intervention. We're going to need the Lord to save us from this man, you know, because Jacob, when I say Jacob, I'm referring to all 12 tribes. You know, Jacob is going to be in trouble, man. You know, we're going to be in some very troublesome situations. Now, a lot of our people are going to perish during that time, you know, but the elect, you know, they'll be delivered from whatever situation they're in. And even if some of the elect, you know, lose their lives, be beheaded, you know, that's their testimony. They're going to be risen up upon the second coming of our Lord Yahweh Shai. And again, there's even information that, you know, the Obama administration, and I want to say before him, it was either Bush Obama or Obama and 45, you know, 45 and 47 is the same person, you know, ordered 30,000 guillotines, you know. But what do you think those are going to be used for? They're going to be used to take out those that refuse Revelation 13, verse 16 and 18, because again, the individual that carried out the act on the train, you know, said he had material in his body, which again, he was referring to, which, you know, the Apostle Tahar was, you know, also alluding to. He may very well have been, you know, tagged. I would say he may have had an implantable device inside of him that may have made him carry out that act, you know. So it's very serious times that we're in, man. You know, we need the Lord. So I'm going to get the book of Isaiah chapter 33 and verse 6. And it says, "And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure." And right, man, this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is what's going to get us, these sincere men, you know, that are out here laboring, you know, for the testimony of our Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. You know, Lord willing, we be of the elect. This is what's going to get us through these tough times, man. The wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of these scriptures, you know, because again, as we know, 2/3 of our people, they're blinded. You know, they can't get the truth no matter what they do. You know, the Lord just doesn't want them to get it, which is why this word was only meant for a remnant, you know, to get during this particular time. So I'm going to grab that in Romans chapter 11 and verse 7 just to back it up. And it says, "What then? Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded." And right, man, you know, the rest were blinded, man. They can't get it no matter what they do. Because what? The Lord didn't give them the ears to hear or the eyes to see. Which I'll grab, verse 8 as well. And it says, according as it is written, Yahweh hath given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear until this day. So right, man, they're still asleep. Spiritually they're still asleep. They can't get it. Because you even have certain of our people that just want to get it, but they can't, man. It's right there in their face, but they can't see it. They hear this word, but they don't get it, man. Why? Because it's only for the election to get it. The entire nation of Israel is not going to be saved like during the time of ancient Egypt. Only a remnant is going to be saved, So let me get the book of Jeremiah, chapter 30. I'm going to start at verse 6, and it says, ask ye now, and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. And again, man, men are going to be as women in that day, man. Men are going to be afraid because, again, you have, a lot of these so-called tough guys out here, of every nation, but especially you niggas and, you Edomites, man, you tough guys, you're going to be as women in that day, because it's going to be so bad out here. And if women, it's like it, and if men are going to be afraid, how much more you women, during that time, Verse 7, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. And right, man, that's the time that we're coming into. We're still in the beginning stages. Things are gradually getting more and more, difficult. Things are getting more and more turned up, because again, these two incidents alone that took place are getting the people roused up, man, which ultimately is going to lead to, all hell breaking loose, So I'm going to come back to Matthew chapter 24, and I'm going to give verse 6, and it says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. And right, this is the time that we're coming into, where nation is going to be against nation, race wars, civil wars, if you will, because it's going to be rich versus the poor, Edomites versus Israelites, the heathens versus whoever. Nation is going to be against nation. There's going to be class wars. There's going to be civil wars. There's going to be a race war, man. This is what this is going into. And obviously there's going to be a famine because the famine is looming, man. There's news has been brought out where, number 47 is saying that, farmers are having a difficult time, farming, and they can't keep up. So, which is, they're paying a lot of them off to just leave, they're buying that farmland and they're not doing anything with it, or they can't keep up, It's a lot going on, with that. So again, a famine is looming because farmers are having a hard time, and then pestilences, the different sicknesses that are going to be out here, and obviously, earthquakes that are taking place, right? In verse 8, and it says, all these are the beginning of sorrows. So right, man, this is just the beginning of the sorrows that are going to be on this earth, man, especially here in America, because again, man, America has been pampered. This place has, been too used to living it up, living that good life, but America is going to experience what people in these third world countries have experienced, famine, having to live off the land, which we're supposed to be living off the land anyway. But again, man, the American people don't know how to live off the grid, man. A good majority of people, because I myself, I'm not, a survival expert, but again, Lord willing, the Lord will be with me. during the time of Jacob's trouble. But again, there's certain things a lot of us don't know how to do when it comes to survival, which is why we need the Lord, man. You know, we need the Lord to deliver us because it's going to be extremely difficult out here, you know. So I'll just grab a couple more, man, just hit the main points and I want to get. So I'm going to get 2nd Esdras, chapter 15. And, it just start at it. 2nd Esdras 15 and verse 14. It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands." And right, man, race wars. This is what's coming, and we're starting to see the beginning of that, man, because Edom, he's mad at Israel right now. He is. And in particular, he's mad at the tribe of Judah, which are you so-called Negroes, man. He's mad at us, mainly. He hates all of the tribes. He has a perpetual hatred for all 12 tribes, but especially Judah, man, and he's looking for any reason to come up against us, which is why we have to, again, tread lightly, Verse 16, it says, "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power." So, right, once all hell breaks loose, the people aren't going to regard, the city councilman, the mayor, the governor, the senator, or even the president himself. People are going to take matters into their own hands because things are going to be extremely difficult out here, because the elites are setting it up to where they are purposely collapsing this country slowly but surely. We know it's ultimately our Lord, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, that is doing this, but on a smaller scale, the elites are purposely, collapsing, Babylon right before our eyes, Verse 17, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." And right, man, martial law. And just like one of the brothers brought out, in the video, if the National Guard is in your city right now, that's martial law, because again, as we know, they're out there in DC. I'm not sure if they're out there in Baltimore, but I heard, number 47 wanted to send them out to Baltimore, and they very well may be on their way to Chicago, which they will get sent out there because they're going to get sent everywhere, man, because things are going to heat up, and there's even been more looting, taking place. So that's just going to give number 47 even more reason to send, the National Guard to these different cities, Verse 19, "A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation." And right, man, people aren't going to regard their neighbors. They're not going to care. It's not going to matter that, oh, you were cool with this particular individual for, this time, once this famine hits, people are going to be in survival mode. They're not going to give a damn about, how cool you are. They're just going to take whatever you have, So if you have food, they're going to raid your house with the sword, which the modern sword is the gun, because again, there are more guns in America than there are people, and this is how people are going to, take actions into their hands, man. They're going to take up arms to, protect themselves by any means necessary, and again, we need the Lord. We need the Lord. You're crazy if you don't think you need a savior, which a lot of you niggas don't think you do, but you do, and you're not going to get any help in that day. So I'll end it with this. This is the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 16 and verse 70. It says, "For there shall be in every city," it's like, "for there shall be in every place, and in the next cities, a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord." So right, man, the men of the Lord, we're going to be persecuted. We're going to be blamed for things that we didn't do, you know, and people are going to seek to take our lives, because again, they're already, blaming, Israelites for the particular incident, that took place. But ultimately, they're going to blame, the men of the Lord, and say that, we're DTs. And in reality, all we're doing is just teaching the Bible. We're just bringing out what's been written, you know. Verse 71, it says, they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. Right, man. And again, Esau, Edom is going to be like a madman out here. So all you YNs, all you tough guys out there that swear up and down y'all ready, yet again, I'm telling you, you're not ready for this, man. You niggas are not ready. He has he's this man is way ahead of us. He's way ahead of us, man. This is why we need divine intervention, because carnally, this man is too powerful for us. A lot of you niggas can't even shoot straight, and you think you're about to come up against this man, and his blessing is the sword, which is not just limited to the gun, man. It's not. He has all these different military equipment that he can't wait to break out and use on you niggas, and which he will, So while America's going crazy on the inside, it's going to be going crazy on the outside of this place, because again, man, while America's, fighting with itself, these different nations are going to, team up against this place, and it's going to be surrounded, So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of the great millstone, who I learned this truth from. And I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. Till the next time I say, Shalom.